promoting you and what you do. This is OIC Studio Podcast. Interviews, discussions, live reading, music performances, and more. Here is your host, James Bryant.
Today we're sitting down with Doug Kiburz. How are you today, Doug?
Great, James. Thanks for having me in your studio.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us. We have a couple of books here that you have written, children's books, a bit of a departure from what you normally write. Tell us about some of these books you got.
Well, I thought we'd start small in my publication, so started with two children's books. One I've had in mind for about 9 years, the Rita and Rory at Squirrel School. And the other one just kind of got in the way. One night I woke up and this poem came into my head, and it was pretty much the whole Tree Story, A Christmas Adventure. And so the Tree Story actually came out first, and then followed by Rita and Rory this spring.
Okay, and what are the titles of those again?
The first was Tree Story, A Christmas Adventure, Doug Kiburz, illustrated by Reggie Cornell. And then Rita and Rory at Squirrel School, subtitle is Safe Tree Climbing, illustrated by Natalie DeStefano and written by myself. How
well have these books been received up to this point?
Actually, surprisingly well. I have a lot of parents that say that the Tree Story is going to be one of their new traditions for Christmas Eve. Rita and Rory has been well received as well. In fact, I just heard this week that the Cipa Evvy Awards, which is an independent publisher and Education Literacy Council book awards, came out, and actually Rita and Rory won the category for animals, pets, and nature, and Tree Story got an Order of Merit for the awards. And it's an international award. They have applications from all over the world, so that's pretty exciting.
That's pretty amazing as well. I mean, a local writer, and you already got some international acclaim. That's wonderful. Could you read an excerpt from either of those two books?
Sure. Tree Story came out first, so we'll start with that. And the beginning seems always to be a good place to start. The howling wind was blowing on that cold, dark winter day. The trees were dancing wildly as they would swoon and they would sway. Then from atop a cypress tree, a pine cone lost its perch. It parachuted down and landed smack upon the earth. A pine seed rattled loose and settled down in fertile dirt to hibernate till spring, when it would start its growing spurt. With rain and sun and soil, it put a shoot up toward the sky, and it shot a rootlet downward to allow it to grow high. It grew up inch by inch with its brothers all around, and became part of the forest where those giant trees abound. After several growing summers, it had needles at its ends, and on its sturdy branches it hosted many feathered friends, cardinals, finches, chickadees, some squirrels, and a rabbit. They loved their little cypress, they coexisted to inhabit. As a member of the arbor clan, it was such liberation, with feathers, nests, and fur, to give it decoration. So the whole book is in rhyme, and it just kind of came around that way. And the other book is more of a storytelling book, but both of them are, I think, hopefully get kids to enjoy reading. Some mothers have said, hey, kids as young as 4 have followed right along in the book and recognized the illustrations. So that's been a fun part of it, to have kids really of all ages. And part of it is with kids. They say that kids that have exposure or availability of books are 3 years ahead academically.
I agree, and it's wonderful that you are doing this, because I agree, kids nowadays at least, it's sad to see a lot of them, just don't have that passion for books like they should. So how does an orthopedic surgeon go from doing that to writing children's books?
I was a minor in English in college, and then medical school and residency and through there. And I've always thought I've been well-rounded, from riding bikes to hiking to reading myself. Those that read live 1,000 lives, those that don't, only one. So I've always been a great reader, and I've been reasonably creative, I think, thanks to my mother's side. And so I have started writing. I'm not sure I was on the first SpoFest, but one of the first, and so it's a great outlet for me, completely different from doing orthopedic surgery. And I sometimes wake up in the morning and an entire poem is just sitting there in my subconscious, and I get up and write it down. So it's kind of circulating in my mind almost all the time.
And how can people pick up these children's books?
I think they still have some at Reader's World here. Also Amazon.com will have those. And one other online bookstore that I'm failing to remember at the moment. But anywhere pretty much online, if you Google it, I think it'll pop right up, or they should still have some at the local bookstore.
Thank you, Doug, for taking the time to be here, and best of luck with those two books. Sound wonderful. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, James.
Can we help promote you and what you do? Get in touch with us.